Like a member of the 2S LGBTQ plus community who fears that without further clarification, the therapy he relies on to help him navigate his same-sex relationships would be barred by the bill's ban on treatment that, quote, represses or reduces non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behavior, end quote. Others also express the need to clarify the definition of conversion therapy in the bill.
I apologize. I have to interrupt the member who will have 5 minutes to complete her speech next time the bill comes to the floor. Il est temps d'aller aux déclarations des députés, statements by members. The Honourable Member for Moncton, Riverview, Dieppe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. In the wee hours of October 3rd, 1974, volunteer Moncton firefighter Don McFarland spotted a fire inside a home as he drove past. Off-duty and without protective clothing, he entered the home multiple times to rescue a child and 4 adults. In one case, he dragged a man to safety through the smoke and fire while the victim was overcome. I'm sharing Mr. McFarland's remarkable story years later because he considered this all in a night's work and never told anyone except his wife. His bravery went unrecognized until researched by the Moncton Firefighters Historical Society brought it to light. I was truly honored last week to recognize Mr. McFarland's bravery in a special ceremony. The people of Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe owe the Moncton Firefighters Historical Society a debt of gratitude for adding this incident to the historical record. We owe Don McFarland so much more. His selfless actions represent the best of what it means to be Canadian. Thank you so much, Mr. McFarland, and thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Madam Speaker, Main Street is in trouble. Main Street businesses in my riding of Lambton, Kent, Middlesex are hanging on by a thread, and sadly, many have gone under. Hairstylists, barbers, spas, fitness gyms, they're shuttered. Again. As my colleagues on this side of the House, I have met many business owners who have gone above and beyond to do what was asked. They found ways to get products to shelves and to serve their customers safely. They helped their workforce adjust to the lockdowns. They kept as many on payroll as possible. Their resilience is truly inspiring, but their net revenues are not. They gave me a message to bring to this House, and I quote, "We cannot survive another lockdown. No more debts, no more handouts. They just want the lockdowns to end. They want this government to commit..."
The Honourable Member for Vaudreuil-Soulanges. Madam Speaker, this year, as I begin my 9th year of remission from testicular cancer, I rise today to recognize the work of nurses and frontline health workers who continue to save lives during the worst crisis.
Through the halls of Montreal's Jewish General Hospital for my annual blood work and x-rays, the experience was understandably different. But one thing remained the same, the dedication and resolve of our nurses. I strained to find the words to describe my gratitude to the nurses who cared for me and indeed care for us all. So I'll try to sum up these heroes with one anecdote. As I was leaving the hospital yesterday, one of the nurses who treated me looked at her colleague and said, "Okay, see you tomorrow. I'm off to the clinic. It's vaccines time." Because, Madam Speaker, in addition to working her shift, she was also giving her time delivering life-saving vaccines to us and those we love. Ils sont des véritables héros.
These are our true heroes, Madam Speaker, and on behalf of this House, I would like to sincerely thank them for the work they do for all of us and all Canadians.
Member for Elmwood, Transcona.
Madam Speaker, the pandemic has hit everybody hard, and small businesses are no exception. These are the businesses that drive employment and provide the real basis of our economy. Last week, I hosted a virtual town hall meeting for Elmwood Transcona small business owners. I heard from Gary, the owner of a company that provides trips for people with mobility challenges. He received the Canada Emergency Business Account loan, but slow business means paying it off next year is completely unrealistic. Roger is a self-employed massage therapist whose business has been devastated by the pandemic. While CERB helped early on, rules for the new benefits disqualify him because he continues to earn some income. While big banks benefited from huge gifts of liquidity and large firms were allowed to keep wage subsidy money while paying bonuses and dividends, small businesses continue to wait for word on whether they'll get an extension on the CEBA or see income support that doesn't penalize them for making what money they can. Once again, New Democrats are speaking up for the little guys when we say small business owners deserve to know what support they can bank on in the years to come.
The Honourable Member for Kingston and the Islands.
Madam Speaker, we recognize the most efficient way to reduce our emissions is to use price mechanisms. I know what you're thinking, Madam Speaker. Here goes the member from Kingston and the Islands once again, railing on about the need to price pollution. But guess what, Madam Speaker? These aren't my words. They are, in fact, the words that come straight from the new Conservative Climate Plan. That's right. After 5 long years of criticizing and lashing out for this government's bold vision on recognizing polluting should not be free, the Conservative Party has finally figured out it's the right way to go. But don't be fooled, Madam Speaker. As usual, the devil is in the details. Rather than encouraging folks to pollute less, the Conservative plan actually incentivizes to use more fossil fuels. Yep. That's right, Madam Speaker. With their plan, the more you burn, the more you earn. Leadership is not about waiting for public opinion to be on your side, Madam Speaker. It's about doing something bold because you believe.
Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
I'm honored to inform the House of some of the life-saving first responders that we're blessed to have in Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes. Paramedics Colin Anderson, Scott Spear, Haley Ireland, Ted Maka, Dan Freeman, Stephen Marcus, Michelle Brown, Chris Scott, Tanya Sinclair, and Sandra Ladd all received awards for resuscitating patients. Their coolness under pressure certainly won't be forgotten. Brockville Constables Dustin Gamble, Ross McCullough, and Jeff Fearon, as well as Sergeants Eric Rougerock and Sean Borgford, showed incredible heroism, saving the lives of 2 of our citizens. Our community is grateful to these officers. We also have a couple longtime leaders who are retiring after 36 and 46 years, respectively. Gananoque Police Chief Gary Hall and Leeds and the Thousand Islands Fire Chief Rick Lawson will be stepping aside to enjoy retirement. This is but a sample of the amazing work that first responders and telecommunicators do for us. They are our friends, our neighbors, and because of their commitment and...
Honourable Member for Mississauga Erin Mills.
Madam Speaker, I join Muslims in my riding across Canada and the world in observing the month of Ramadan. As we fast from sunrise till sunset, and yes, even from water, Muslim Canadians will again this year have iftars at our homes, isolated from others, missing out on gatherings with loved ones, and praying at mosques. Ramadan is a time to do our part to help those most in need. And I'm thinking of community organizations like Nasiha Mental Health Helpline that supports mental health for young people. As Muslim Canadians do their part in supporting community, I'm proud to be part of a government that stands shoulder to shoulder with Muslim Canadians to call out and take action against hatred in all its forms, including calling out Islamophobia by its name, and proclaiming January 29th as a National Day of Remembrance of the Quebec City mosque attack and action against Islamophobia. Madam Speaker, our Canadian mosaic is a resilient one. Ramadan Mubarak.
The Honourable Member for Cumberland, Colchester.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 1 year ago, on the morning of Sunday, April 19th, we, the citizens of Cumberland, Colchester, awoke to discover a devastating tragedy had ripped through our normally tranquil corner of the world. Words cannot express my sorrow for the families and friends who lost loved ones, and the RCMP who lost a beloved colleague here in the line of duty. Thank you to all first responders who risked their own lives trying to save others. We are Nova Scotians. When we continue to support one another with kindness and generosity, we prove that love wins the day and that violence does not and will never define us. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Niagara Falls.
Madam Speaker, April is Parkinson's Awareness Month, and this past week our community came together to honor one of our local residents by proclaiming April 11th as Steve Ludzik Parkinson's Awareness Day in the city of Niagara Falls. Steve arrived in Niagara in 1978 to pursue a hockey career, playing Junior A for the Niagara Falls Flyers. He successfully realized his childhood dream by playing professionally in the National Hockey League and later went on to become a professional hockey coach and broadcaster. Steve is known for his incredible and selfless contributions made through the creation of his Steve Ludzik Foundation and the establishment of the Steve Ludzik Center for Parkinson's Rehab at Hotel du Shaver Hospital in St. Catharines. Diagnosed with Parkinson's himself, Steve's work and efforts have made a significant difference in the lives of so many people across Niagara. The motto of Steve's life and fight against Parkinson's is to remain Ludzi strong. Steve Ludzik, you are not only a friend to many, you are an inspiration to us all.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to bring the attention of this House to a painful disorder called endometriosis. Endometriosis is a gynecological condition that causes severe pain, inflammation, fatigue, and infertility. It impacts 1 in 10 women as well as transgender and non-binary persons. Despite its prevalence, many women experience long delays to diagnosis. Our government has provided funding through the Canadian Institute of Health Research to better understand the causes of endometriosis and to enhance science around prevention, diagnosis, and treatment.
But we know that, statistically, diseases that primarily affect women receive less funding for research and are often underdiagnosed, sometimes leaving women to suffer for years without validation or treatment. Madam Speaker, we must do more for all those who suffer and give them hope for a pain-free future. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Calgary Centre.
Madam Speaker, this week the House of Commons got to finally debate Bill C-262, a bill that would provide a tax incentive for companies across Canada's economy to contribute to greenhouse gas reductions. Yes, in an era where this government's approach to an environmental problem is to nibble at the edges and tax Canadians, Conservatives have put forth a plan to incentivize the removal of these gases from the atmosphere. Canada has been, until lately, a leader in the approach to solving the world's growing emissions. Our initiative will put us back on track. Sadly, my colleagues in other parties spoke against solving global warming issues with Canadian technological solutions. We've seen the results of this government's approach to managing greenhouse gas emissions. 2019 saw another increase from Canada. So the Liberal government needs to look beyond the non-solutions put forth by this Minister of the Environment and consider this bill as part of a real climate plan, one that actually reduces greenhouse gas emissions.
Hear, hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Madam Speaker, I'm very pleased to reaffirm that the Conservative Party of Canada recognizes climate change, and I am proud of the leadership of our leader, who yesterday presented a credible, bold plan that has been validated by experts in the field. This plan is aligned to meet the Paris targets in creative and effective ways. Amongst other things, we will establish a border tariff, we'll increase carbon capture, we'll increase the number of zero-emission vehicles. We will create a personal savings account for carbon reduction. Our plan is based on a very simple principle. We don't want to use the environment to fill government coffers. We want Canadians to benefit from the positive impacts of this environmental plan. It's ridiculous that this Liberal government thinks that Canadians will increase their gas consumption in order to gain credits for buying green products. We, at the Conservative Party, are the ones who are going to take action for a greener environment.
Honourable Member for Hamilton Centre.
Haunting aspects of my work in Hamilton Centre is receiving a call from a resident facing imminent eviction. I think about the countless renters in our city who are being forced out onto the streets each month by greedy landlords using rent evictions and other dubious means to simply bring in new tenants and jack up the rent. I think of Trish, a widow, who had to sell her home to pay off her debts only to have her already meager ODSP cut. I think of Justin, a hardworking father of 4 with a good-paying job who makes too much to qualify for government support and yet not enough to qualify for a mortgage. He's now been forced to pack up his family and leave the city he loves and grow up in, hoping to find more affordable housing elsewhere. The housing crisis that is happening in Hamilton exists across Canada, and it needs to end. If this Liberal government truly believes that housing is a human right, then actions must be taken to stop catering to foreign investors, speculators, and land hoarders, and finally end the gross profiteering off of one of our society's most basic necessities of life, housing.
The Honourable Member for Manicouagan. Madam Speaker, I'm proud today to take a few moments to talk about a woman who is the pride of the North Shore. Originally from Ushakmak-Manioutinam, Ms. Anouk Saint-Ange recently obtained her captain's diploma, making her the first Innu woman captain of a fishing boat. It is with her family and her children in mind and in her heart that she decided to pursue her studies on the other side of the river in Gaspésie, and she chose to work in a traditionally male profession. She represents a model of perseverance. She is also a pioneer for women who would like to follow in her footsteps by working in the fishing industry. Anouk Saint-Ange was not afraid to go for it and showed determination to make a living from her passion, which she has cherished since she was a child. It is inspiring to see people like her who show that ambition pays off. Congratulations, Captain Saint-Ange, on your graduation. I wish you all the best in your new position.
Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nickel.
Madam Speaker, yesterday history was made. The leader of the official opposition shared his vision for a climate plan aptly named Secure the Environment. It is bold and addresses challenging topics such as carbon leakage. Our plan has been independently assessed by Navius Research. Our plan will effectively achieve the same emissions reductions as the Liberal plan. I was encouraged to see well-respected climate organizations such as Clean Prosperity call this plan a significant step in the right direction. It was also encouraging to see the Canadian Federation of Independent Business immediately recognize the benefits of our plan that fixes the unfair cross-subsidization burden imposed on them by the Liberal plan. Madam Speaker, we all get that this Liberal government don't like ideas that are not from their own cabinet. But let us not forget that every single climate plan and every target that a Liberal government has set going back as far as 1993 has massively failed. For the sake of our climate, I implore the Minister of the Environment to drop the juvenile partisan political response he put out yesterday. Let us...
The Honourable Member for Saint-Laurent. Madam Speaker, this week Quebec teachers have been on strike, fighting for better working conditions to provide to their students with better education and conditions. Working conditions are worsening over the years, and the pandemic has made things much worse, and they have added 1 hour to their schedule without any additional pay. It also means that they have to prepare lessons and spend a long part of their day teaching and correcting and doing extra activities and meeting with other members of staff and parents to help enhance the educational experience of our students. Recently, due to the pandemic, there has been a shortage of teachers, and there are many volunteers as well, but they have significant additional responsibilities, making their work much more difficult. Quebec teachers, we hear you, we see you, and we thank you for all you're doing for our children.
Oral questions. Questions orales. L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, once again, for Canadians, it's total confusion with regard to access to vaccines and to get vaccinated. A few minutes ago, Moderna said that instead of delivering 1.2 million doses late, it would be half of that, and that next June they could not be delivering the number of doses promised. And once again, this is the fault of the Liberal government. And what was the response of the minister? I quote, "We are disappointed. Canadians deserve better than empty words like this. They deserve the facts." The Honourable Minister.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, obviously we share the urgency of vaccinating all Canadians. Already 12.7 million vaccinations have been done in Canada. We have said that we will move forward vaccinations in Canada. We are indeed disappointed with Moderna's deliveries, but we will continue to demonstrate that we will get vaccines in Canada more quickly. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Once again, words, but they don't correspond to the facts. We're not getting more vaccines, we're getting fewer. The government made a commitment to deliver vaccines correctly with some small delays. We're not talking about delays, we're talking about millions of doses fewer. Madam Speaker, fewer vaccines means fewer vaccinations. It means delays for the economic recovery. Can the Prime Minister stand up in the House and be forthright with Canadians about the deliveries of vaccines? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, I will be forthright with Canadians The opposition is continuing to make partisan and political vaccine supply, but the government has exceeded all its targets and all expectations with regard to the deliveries of vaccines by millions. We have seen this with AstraZeneca. We saw this with Pfizer. And I can assure you, Madam Speaker, that we will continue to provide good news with to Canadians. 50 million vaccines will be. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Madam Speaker, the facts don't correspond with the words spoken by the Parliamentary Secretary. It's the Prime Minister who needs to be forthright with Canadians, unlike what he did when he shed some doubt on the CNN report, which told everybody that Canada was in serious trouble. Once again, can the Prime Minister rise in the House and be forthright with Canadians and the problems that we're facing with regard to the access to vaccines? That's his responsibility. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister, in fact, shares in this House and with Canadians, all Canadians, and he will do it so again in a few minutes, the facts about vaccines. The opposition is playing political games, and we are busy getting more quickly vaccines into Canada. We have demonstrated this many times, and we will continue to demonstrate it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before Carleton.
Canada has $4 of household, corporate, and government debt for every $1 of economic output. That's the highest ratio in recorded Canadian history, twice our historic average, higher than the ratio in the U.S. during the subprime crisis or in Greece during that country's sovereign debt crisis. We now show all 5 leading indicators of a forthcoming debt crisis. Will the budget, which has been delayed for 2 years, address this forthcoming debt crisis?
Parliamentary Secretary. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to take the question. It's curious to me that the Conservative Party at every opportunity seems to register complaints about the cost of our pandemic response without reflecting as well on the cost of inaction. Madam Speaker, we know that the pandemic created immense costs for Canadian households and businesses. That's why we put forward programs like the Canada Emergency Response Benefit to keep food on the table for 9 million Canadians. It's why we advanced the wage subsidy to keep 5 million workers on the payroll. Canadians can rest assured, Madam Speaker, that when we table the budget, we will continue to focus on measures that will protect their health and well-being and support.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
Will this government's deficit and the rising debts of households and small businesses is the cost of inaction? It is the result of the terrible job they did in letting thousands of people enter from China after they were warned by the military of a brewing pandemic. It is the cost of their vaccine failure. It is the cost of the late turnaround on rapid testing. And the cost of all of that will be a debt crisis. Will they address the forthcoming debt crisis in the budget, or will we cross that bridge when it collapses?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, again, the Conservatives don't seem to be willing to contemplate the true cost of inaction. I'd point the Honourable Member to a recent report of the IMF that indicates had the government not taken action, the scale of the federal deficit would have been roughly similar, though the Canadian economy would have suffered enormous job losses that would have created economic scarring that would have prevented Canada from recovering when the time came to do so. We will continue to invest to support households and businesses to help them weather this storm and ensure that we set the stage for the economy to come roaring back. I'd in particular point the member to the recent jobs numbers that show over 300...
The Honourable Member for Manicouagan. Madam Speaker, once again, the federal management of quarantine for temporary foreign workers is a fiasco. This year, it's the new COVID tests that are being added to the burden borne by businesses. The federal government gave a unilingual Ontario company the responsibility for this test, but it's unable to provide service to Quebec. The result, workers are forced into isolation for 25 days while waiting for their results. Entrepreneurs are losing entire days to manage the administrative fiasco. When will the government take action so that these workers that we need can work when needed? The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, the government recognizes the importance of temporary foreign workers for our producers and food processors. We are working tirelessly to ensure that temporary foreign workers can arrive safely in Canada by supporting employers with additional cost incurred to accommodate the isolation period. All the federal departments involved in the temporary foreign worker program have worked together to simplify processes and facilitate as much as possible the safe entry of these workers. We recognize the integral role of farmers and food processing employers play in ensuring Canadians have access to food, and we are here to support them.
The Honourable Member for Manicouagan. Madam Speaker, temporary foreign workers are having to remain in forced isolation for nearly a month due to federal mismanagement. This makes no sense. A month without workers for a fish product processing company when we know that the entire fishing season just lasts a few weeks makes no sense for asparagus growers who are a few days from starting their harvest. They'll have to do it alone while their workers are waiting for their results. These are huge losses for our businesses. When will the government take action?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And again, temporary foreign workers have played an important role in ensuring our food security, especially during this pandemic. They deserve to be safe, and that's why we are working with provinces to ensure employers are prepared to safely welcome and quarantine workers, strengthening inspections to ensure employers meet quarantine and program obligations, funding migrant worker organizations to provide direct assistance to workers, improving the TFW tip line to provide services in multiple languages, and improving coordination with our partners to respond quickly to emerging issues. This comprehensive plan builds on and strengthens existing measures to ensure workers and employers.
The Honourable Member for Rosemont Petite Patrie. Madam Speaker, immigration application processing delays are exploding in Canada. It's ridiculous. Just in Quebec alone, the delays are reaching, on average, 27 months. 27 months is lacking respect for people. The Liberals are refusing to take responsibility and passing the potato back to the provinces. We've heard this song before. Will the Prime Minister put his big boy pants on and accelerate the processing time to give hope to these people and the workers who need workers in a labor shortage?
Secretary.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The pandemic has hit all aspects of our life. We have put in place a number of measures in order to deal as quickly as possible with the ongoing applications and reduce the delays caused by COVID-19. We will prioritize the requests from Canadians and permanent residents coming back into Canada, as well as those who provide support and essential support and services. There is still work to be done, Madam Speaker. We have taken measures starting on day one to support Canadians. We will continue to do that in the future. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Madam Speaker, small businesses have been on the front line of the pandemic, and many are not able to weather further restrictions without more help from the government. These entrepreneurs want assurances that next week's budget will provide them with the support they desperately need. New Democrats are listening to small business owners, and they've been clear. The Liberal government has to further expand the CEBA loan to help more struggling businesses, extend the program to get them through this next wave, and give businesses until 2025 to repay what they owe. Will the government support our call to immediately increase CEBA by another $20,000 and make sure small businesses can get back on their feet?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I thank the honourable member for his question and importantly for his continued advocacy for small businesses from the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic. From the very beginning of this public health emergency, our approach has been to support households and businesses to help them weather the storm so they can contribute to the economic recovery on the back end of COVID-19. That included measures like the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. It included measures like the Canada Emergency Business Account. I won't spoil announcements that will be included in Monday's budget, but the honourable member can rest assured our approach to continuing our support for small businesses will be part of the recovery strategy for Canada.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Madam Speaker, as Canadians are now facing the third wave of the global pandemic, the tax filing deadline is quickly approaching. Filing taxes is a stressful time for everyone, but in a global pandemic, it can be downright harrowing. Conservatives believe that the tax filing deadline should be extended to provide relief to those who are struggling. Will the minister consider extending the individual tax filing deadline until June 30th, as Conservatives are calling for?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, our government understands that this tax season is stressful for Canadians. Our government will continue to be there for them every step of the way. In February, we announced that recipients of emergency and recovery benefits would be eligible for interest relief if they file their 2020 income tax returns. The CRA has also strong taxpayer relief provisions in place where taxpayers can be relieved of penalties and interest if these are incurred for reasons beyond their control. These measures will ensure that Canadians who need help this tax season will get it. Thank you, Madam President.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
So, Madam Speaker, I'll take that as a no. This tax season, as our government has locked out nearly 1 million taxpayers out of their CRA My account because of their lackluster cybersecurity, many people who are struggling to regain access to this account, which they need to file their taxes, won't this government please consider giving a couple of extra months for Canadians to file their taxes? It took them nearly 2 years to table a budget.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madame la Présidente. Our government understands that this tax season is a stressful one for Canadians. Our government will continue to be there for them every step of the way. I encourage all Canadians to file their returns on time so that the delivery of the benefits and credits to which they are entitled are not disrupted. Canadians can easily file online, by paper, or by phone for specific individuals. Thank you, Madame la Présidente.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Former Liberal Party National Director Ian MacKay was found guilty of breaking ethics laws when he hid investments in his cannabis company that was in breach of federal law. Now, what did he earn for his troubles? You'd think sanctions or other penalties. Nope. He was named Canada's ambassador to Japan by the Liberal government. Another unscrupulous Liberal representing Canada on the world stage. Are ethical breaches prerequisites for Liberal insiders to be given major appointments?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to point out how important the relationship that we have with Japan as an ally, as a friend, and as a very significant trading partner. The appointment of Mr. MacKay is a significant appointment in that it acknowledges the fact that we want to build our economic, our cultural, and our social relationships with Japan. We trust Mr. MacKay to represent Canada well, and Japan will continue to grow in importance with Canada as we grow together.
Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, it's clear to be a Canadian ambassador under this Liberal government, you'd better be a Liberal insider. Ethical breaches and connections to human rights abusers go a long way. This must be why Dominic Barton, who has deep connections to Communist China, was named Canada's ambassador to China. An ambassador to China that participated in meetings down the road from concentration camps. When these Liberals are considering ambassadors, what's higher on the resume? Ethical breaches or complacency in corruption?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And again, with respect to our relationship to our allies, our friends, as well as those countries that we have challenges with, Canada is well represented by professional public servants, as well as ambassadors who represent Canada with dignity, with grace, with intelligence, with compassion, and with dogged determination. Ambassador Barton exercises that sort of public services, and I'm proud to have him as our ambassador to Canada.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
Madam Speaker, foreign state-backed misinformation and violent forced confessions should not be part of the Canadian broadcasting system, which is why I will be moving amendments to Bill C-10 to protect Canadians and others from these gross violations of human rights. Does the government support these proposed amendments?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that question. It's an exciting day that we are moving forward to clause by clause on Bill C-10, modernizing the Broadcasting Act, today in committee. Standing committees are independent and have an important role to play in improving bills through the legislative process, and I'm looking forward to seeing all parties work together to make sure that it is the best bill that it can be.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
Madam Speaker, it was a very clear and specific question that was not about committee agendas. It was about the policy of this government with respect to these forced confessions. Safeguard Defenders has filed a complaint with the CRTC about the airing of forced confessions on Canadian airwaves involving nearly 60 victims between 2013 and 2019. The CRTC has failed to launch an investigation. So will the parliamentary secretary stop avoiding the issue and simply state the government's position on this when it comes to removing foreign state-backed misinformation and violence from the Canadian broadcasting system? Does the government agree that action is required?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, the member from across the way's question was in respect to amendments that are being considered in committee, and I want to reiterate standing committees are independent and they do have an important role to play. All members as a committee, opposition, members as a government party, and we will all be working together at committee to consider all of the amendments being put forward.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Madam Speaker, pyrrhotite is destroying homes in Maurice, and the federal government must do its fair share. In its recent budget, Quebec invested $26 million more to help affected homeowners for a total investment of $80 million. The federal government's contribution is only $30 million 5 years ago. I quote the government of Quebec. Quebec expects the federal government to financially contribute to expanding and improving assistance for homes damaged by pyrrhotite. There is a $50 million shortfall for Ottawa to cost share this. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I thank the honourable member for his question. I will apologize in advance because I'm not familiar with the very specific issue he's raised around pyrrhotite. I'd be happy to take more detail from him on the back end of question period should he wish, but I will note in particular that we've made significant investments, including the ability to repair and retrofit affordable housing units to ensure that every Canadian, no matter their level of income, has a dignified place to call home.
The honourable member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Madam Speaker, listening to the answer, and I feel like it's the first time the federal government has heard of pyrrhotite, but it's very concerning. Victims of pyrrhotite are under financial and psychological distress. The government cannot continue to ignore the problem. One of its ministers, the member for Saint-Maurice-Champlain, has a seat at the table. The time for excuses is over. Mauricie needs leadership and cooperation. There's missing $50 million from Ottawa to be a 50-50 partner with Quebec. The budget is coming down Monday. Will the victims be able to get their fair share? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, we have always been there for victims of pyrrhotite. We have met with them and discussed with them, and we're aware of the difficulties and the problems they have experienced and what they have gone through. It's a very serious problem. We will continue to be there for them.
The honourable member for Lakeland.
Madam Speaker, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians' 2020 annual report says the Chinese Communist Party is, quote, increasingly targeting Canada's science and technology sector through programs like Thousand Talents, which gets Chinese scientists to bring their research back to China. Yet despite evidence that Canada's 5G technology is being, quote, actively targeted, the Liberals still refuse to ban Huawei from our network. So let's try this again. Will the Liberals take a stand against Chinese wolf warrior diplomacy and ban Huawei?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me assure the member that we take national security very seriously. We take national security, we take the research environment, and we do the work that's required to ensure that Canadians have full confidence that everything has protocols and that they are safe and secure and do not have to worry about the types of concerns the member has identified.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
But Chinese citizens are coerced by the regime, and Huawei is an arm of the Communist Party. NSICOP's report also says, quote, China and Russia remain the primary culprits for foreign interference and, quote, are the most significant long-term threats to Canada's sovereignty and prosperity. Yet the Prime Minister defends the Communist Party's interests, even threatening to withdraw from the Halifax Security Forum if Taiwan was recognized for its resistance to China's relentless pressure. How can the Prime Minister actually defend Canada from the CCP's interference if he's an active apologist for it?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me reiterate one more time that we are constantly on the lookout and that we do everything within our power to safeguard our research, our national security, and our economic interests. These are valid concerns to have, but as she is fully aware, the Minister of Public Safety and the Minister of Industry have taken numerous steps over the course of the past several months to ensure that Canadians have nothing to be concerned about.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Madam Speaker, on Monday, the Liberal government announced a financial package worth up to $5.8 billion for one of Canada's airlines, Air Canada. Not only does this package neglect the thousands of laid-off workers at Canada's other airlines, but there were no new supports for airports, our air traffic controllers, or travel advisors with commissions at other airlines. Assisting one airline is simply not the comprehensive relief program we all have been asking for. Can the government commit to keeping their promise and support all of our aviation workers?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for giving me the opportunity to talk about Monday's announcement. This week is a good week for workers in the aviation sector. This week is a good week for passengers who've been waiting for refunds. This week is a good week for communities who've been disconnected because of COVID. This week is a good week for travel agents, Madam Speaker. Our package, our agreement with Air Canada is a great news for the aviation sector. And Madam Speaker, let me reassure you, we are in discussions with other airlines, and I look forward to supporting the excellent work of our aviation workers.
Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
This week is a good week for one company.
Madam Speaker, the Liberal government promised to support the Canadian airline sector more than a year ago, but it's only this week that we've seen any progress with a program for Air Canada. Unfortunately, we need a plan for the entire industry. This piecemeal approach will only slow the recovery and hurt the many workers in the aviation sector. Why is the government taking so long to take action?
Well, Minister.
Madam Speaker, Sunwing received a package in February. We are in discussions with Air Transat. We are in discussions with WestJet. We are in discussions with other airlines. And Madam Speaker, last fall economic statement, we announced a $1.1 billion support for airports and regional and remote airlines. So Madam Speaker, it's not the Conservatives who will be there for the aviation workers. It is our government who's been there from day one, and we will continue to have their back. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
Madam Speaker, Baffinland Iron Mines Corporation sent a letter to the Minister of Northern Affairs asking him to ensure a swift conclusion to the NERB environmental and social assessment of the mine's proposed expansion. The Minister has refused to meet with the Nuluyat land guardians after multiple requests. Reconciliation requires meaningful interaction with Inuit. Instead, the Liberals are ignoring requests to provide transparency and fulfill their obligations. Madam Speaker, has the Minister or his staff met with the Baffinland Iron Mines Corporation in the last 6
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague for the question. But she knows the process regarding the Baffinland Mary River Mine Project proposal is ongoing. And in the coming weeks, the Independent Nunavut Impact Review Board will resume hearings on the project. As was set out in the Nunavut Agreement, the NIRB process was established with Inuit and territory partners to ensure that the interests of all Nunavut are heard and are protected. So we are confident that all parties will continue their dialogue through that NIRB process, and it's not up to us to prejudge the outcome.
The Honourable Member for Skinna, Buckley Valley.
Madam Speaker, Canadians have been waiting for over a year for Air Canada to return their hard-earned money for cancelled trips. While the Liberals stood by, thousands of jobs have been lost across the air sector. It should never have taken over a year to get help to airline workers or to make families whole by providing refunds. After months of pushing the government to do the right thing, they finally have come to an agreement. But without a real enforcement mechanism, the government is left relying on Air Canada. Will the minister take an active role in resolving disputes and ensuring Canadians are properly refunded?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to once again talk about how this week is a good week for workers in the aviation sector. It's a good week for passengers who are waiting for refunds. It's also a good week for travel agents, and it's a good week for communities who have lost regional routes that connected them to other parts of the country and the rest of the world. Madam Speaker, I want to thank our officials at Finance, Department of Finance, officials at the Department of Transport, for working diligently. We've done our homework. We've protected the interest of Canadians. We've protected the interest of passengers.
Member for Pierrefonds-Dollard.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, the REM station at the Trudeau International Airport in Montreal has been under construction for some time. Can the Minister of Transport inform this House about the status of this project and how it will benefit the entire Montreal area and also represents a significant investment? The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, j'aimerais remercier.
I would like to thank my colleague for his question.
Our government was pleased to announce an agreement with our partners to build the REM station at the Montreal Trudeau International Airport. This project will benefit Montreal and follows our commitment from the Fall Economic Statement to support airports. This project is good news for Montrealers and for Quebecers, and I want to thank my colleagues from the Quebec caucus for championing it.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
A few months ago, I asked the Minister of Public Safety what he would do to defend our country's digital infrastructure from cyber attacks and terrorism. He answered by saying, "We threw money at it." Just recently, over 533 million Facebook users' data was leaked online. The CRA was attacked last summer, and Microsoft just faced a cyber attack. This is hurting our economy and the safety of Canadians. When will this government make a real plan and take cybersecurity seriously?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The Honourable
Madam Speaker, this government will stop at nothing to protect its citizens and indeed our government and its institutions from cybersecurity. The minister is completely committed to his work on that file, and that file will continue. And that work includes with doing work with our technology companies, doing work across the government, and funding adequately our cybersecurity efforts.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
The Prime Minister has repeatedly said that there remains no more important relationship than that with the Indigenous people. In his 2019 mandate letter to the Procurement Minister, he instructed her to secure 5% of all federal contracts with Indigenous-owned companies. She failed. As a result, that mandate letter was scrapped and a new one was granted. It's as if it was inconvenient and therefore whitewashed. Now, my question is very simple. When will this government stop making false promises, misleading Canadians, and actually follow through?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, in fact, our government is incredibly committed to reaching that 5% target of procurement from Indigenous companies. I had the pleasure, along with the Minister of Public Services and Procurement, of participating in a roundtable in working on the modernization of procurement, in fact delivering successful procurements for Indigenous companies and Indigenous peoples right across this country. That work continues, Madam Speaker, and we will be reporting on even more good news on that in the future.
The Honourable Member for Regina Wascana.
Madam Speaker, the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline transports Saskatchewan and Alberta oil to eastern Canada. It supplies half of Ontario and Quebec's gasoline, diesel, home heating fuel, and jet fuel. But next month, the Governor of Michigan is going to shut down that pipeline, jeopardizing tens of thousands of jobs across Canada. Madam Speaker, why has the Prime Minister not yet engaged directly with President Biden on enforcing the Transit Pipeline Treaty between our two countries?
Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, Line 5 is non-negotiable. People will not be left out in the cold. I want to also thank the members of the Canada-US Special Committee for their hard work on setting Line 5. We have received their report and will be reviewing it, but it's clear there is no daylight between parties and between Canadians on this issue. Line 5 is essential to Canada's energy security, and we will continue to defend it. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Madam Speaker, Canada's debt load is amongst the highest per capita of developed nations, and with the spending announcements and budget coming on Monday, there doesn't seem to be any stopping this massive buildup. The Prime Minister continues to boast that he has Canadians' backs. Is there any chance he will come clean next week and explain to our grandkids that it will be on their backs to pay it all back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, it is stunning the Conservatives' lack of willingness to recognize the cost of not taking action to support Canadian households and businesses through this pandemic. I point the honourable member to the testimony from a representative at the OECD at the Finance Committee just yesterday, where he indicated that Canada's healthy fiscal position put us in a great position to respond to the cost of this pandemic, but also to set the course for the recovery. On our side of the House, we will not be afraid to invest to ensure that households can keep food on the table and that workers can remain on the payroll. We will do whatever it takes, as long as it takes, to see Canadians through this emergency.
L'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Madam Speaker, the survival of bees is threatened by neonicotinoid pesticides. Bees are at the heart of the food chain. Without them, there's no pollination, no plants, no biodiversity. 3 years ago, Ottawa pledged to follow Europe's lead and ban these pesticides, but now it's moving backwards without even proposing any solutions. For years, the Bloc has been supporting massive investment to find alternatives and support farmers during the transition, but Ottawa has done nothing for our farmers or for the environment. We're stuck at the starting line. When will they act? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are making significant investments in research to help our farmers to adapt and to be able to offer agriculture that is sustainable. When it comes to neonicotinoids, there's a framework in place. The last study focused on aquatic plant safety, and this is a very complex subject that we're taking seriously to ensure the protection of Canadians' health.
Please allow us to hear what's being said. L'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Madam Speaker, the transition to the elimination of neonicotinoids is essential for public health. The National Institute of Scientific Research concluded that these pesticides act as endocrine disruptors in humans and would have potential impacts, especially for women. The situation is clear. These pesticides are harmful to the environment, harmful to health, and they can't be abolished by abandoning farmers without a solution. We need to invest in research and support the transition for farmers. When will the government pull its head out of the sand? The Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker, we are making very significant investments in research to help our agricultural producers. We take this issue very seriously. We want to find the right balance in order to be able to ensure a transition, but also ensure the safety and health of Canadians, which of course is our number one priority. Regulation is in place, and we're investing in science.
Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. April is personal tax season, and with the deadline fast approaching, Canadians are feeling overwhelmed. Lockdowns, business closures, layoffs, and job loss are only a few issues that have made tax filing more complicated and time-consuming than ever before. Accountants, tax consultants, and individuals in my riding and across the country are pleading for more time. Will the minister urgently address this unnecessary added stress and extend the annual tax filing deadline?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I thank the honourable member for their question, and as I stated to their colleague earlier on in the session, our government understands that this tax season is a stressful one for Canadians, and our government will continue to be there for them every step of the way. In February, we announced that recipients of emergency and recovery benefits would be eligible for interest relief if they file their 2020 income tax returns. The CRA also has strong taxpayer relief provisions in place where taxpayers can be relieved of penalties and interest if these are incurred for reasons beyond their control. These measures will ensure that Canadians who need
Honorable député de Montmagny.
The Honourable Member for Montmagny, Lillet, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. When the Prime Minister announced COVID aid measures last year, the Prime Minister said that nobody would be left behind. Rosalie, a young mother from Montmagny, recently finished her maternity leave, and at the start of the third wave, she was denied the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit by a CRA officer because her daughter was not previously enrolled in daycare between the two waves. Not that she hasn't tried, she's been on a waiting list for 50 different daycares, and those that have any spots at all are taking infants because of COVID-19. What does the government suggest to Rosalie?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, we recognize the disproportionate impact this pandemic has had on women. When we transitioned to the CERB, to EI and the recovery benefits last September, we provided an EI hours credit retroactive to March 2020. This was in recognition that individuals may not have been able to accumulate enough hours to be eligible for EI. Women benefited from the hours credit as they could retroactively claim EI maternity benefits. We have worked hard to ensure equity for EI claimants, and members in this House can be assured that new mothers are receiving the benefits to which they are entitled.
L'honorable député de Port.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Thousands of Canadians have been abandoned by the system. A citizen in my riding, after receiving EI sick leave benefits, was denied the Canada Recovery Sickness benefit because his file is still open in the EI system, and that's causing a problem in the system. Managers there have recognized the failure but are waiting for a solution. When will the Minister of National Revenue and the Minister of Employment work together to end this problem so that Canadians who need help receive the money that they are entitled to? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I thank the honourable member opposite for the question. We know that this continues to be a difficult time for many, which is why we transitioned to a simplified EI program and created 3 new recovery benefits to support Canadians who are unable to work or have reduced hours. Service Canada and the Canada Revenue Agency work together to share data on Canadians who apply to ensure that only one benefit is paid to someone applying at any given time. In some instances, this integrity measure can cause a delay. That said, we understand that any delay in receiving benefits can be hard for people. So Service Canada and the CRA are continuing to work together to reduce delays and ensure Canadians are paid the benefits they need in a timely manner.
The Honourable Member for West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
Madam Speaker, for years, the Highway of Tears has been an unsafe route for women, Indigenous women and girls. Families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and survivors have highlighted the connection between these heinous acts and the gaps in cellular service along Canadian highways, especially in rural and remote areas. Can the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Rural Economic Development update the House on the steps our government has taken to enhance the safety, particularly for Indigenous women and girls along Highway 16?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his hard work and particularly for his leadership as chair of the Liberal Pacific Caucus. Along with our partners in BC and with Rogers, our government is connecting the entirety of Highway 16 to reliable cell service. Work begins this construction season. It will be completed by October of next year in consultation with families and survivors. We do this work and respond to recommendations from the inquiry and the Highway of Tears Symposium. We complete this work in memory of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and in earnest resolve to end such tragedies. Gender-based violence is preventable.
The Honourable Member for South Surrey, White Rock. The Honourable Member for South Surrey, White Rock.
Thank you. Having trouble with the mute, Madam Speaker. The Wall Street Journal, Canada's vaccine rollout lags behind as cases rise. CNN, Canadian vaccine rollout is not going well at all. The Atlantic, Canada's vaccine mess. The Guardian Weekly, Ontario starts 1-month lockdown as cases surge. Apparently, Canada's Prime Minister thinks these American and UK publications are peddling fake news. Will the Prime Minister be honest with Canadians and admit vaccine availability is his failed responsibility?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, we've already furnished 12.7 million doses to the provinces and territories to vaccinate Canadians. We've managed to advance tens of millions of vaccine doses from one quarter to another, and just moments ago announced that an additional 8 million doses of Pfizer vaccine will be supplied to Canadians over the coming weeks and months. Madam Speaker, the Canadian vaccine procurement strategy is working. It has worked since the beginning, and we will continue to be among the top countries in the G20 for vaccinating our citizens.
Member for Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Madam Speaker, Canada is behind with vaccines. That's a fact. It's now an embarrassing story reported on CNN. The lower supply of vaccines is getting rationed with off-label usage. Instead of 3 weeks, doses can be delayed by 4 months. We're the only country with a 4-month interval. The Liberals make excuses and say they're following facts and science, but Canada's chief science advisor has called a dosing delay, quote, a population-level experiment. Does the Prime Minister agree with his advisors in saying that his failures are the reason for this unusual dosing?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, we just had a great example of the member reading the question before, instead of listening to the previous answer. As I just reported, we will be increasing the number of Pfizer vaccines available to Canadians by 8 million over the next weeks and months. That will mean that approximately 50 million doses of vaccines will be distributed to Canadians. The real question, Madam Speaker, is when will the opposition stop chasing the bouncing ball and playing politics with vaccine procurements, instead recognize that we are among the leading countries in the world in the G20.
Honourable Member for Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Madam Speaker, according to the most recent numbers by Statistics Canada, less than 1/3 of Canada's municipal wastewater is fully treated. This mixture of human waste and water is poured into our waterways, millions of cubic meters every day. And it is shocking that the biggest polluters are Canada's coastal cities. The environmentalists who decry Alberta's ethical oil sands are silent. Where is the Minister of the Environment's plan to deal with this reckless pollution of our Canadian waterways?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. During our mandate, we approved over $1.5 billion in federal funding for 1,452 wastewater projects across the country. In comparison, from 2011 to 2015, the previous Harper government approved only 216 wastewater projects and invested less than half the amount of federal funding. Madam Speaker, compare that with the Conservative platform that had them cutting billions of dollars from much-needed infrastructure projects across the country and reducing investments of our municipalities critically need. With funding by multiple federal departments focused on national priorities that serve communities first, we are building Canada.
Honourable Member for York Centre.
Madam Speaker, the Conservative leader told Canadians that he would bring forward a serious and comprehensive climate plan. Instead, all we got was a 15-page pamphlet that didn't mention science and doesn't help us meet our climate goals. To top it off, the Conservatives continue to delay serious legislative action on climate with the Net Zero Act. Can the Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change please update this House on the Conservative climate pamphlet and their filibuster of C12?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to the member for York Centre for her important question. I want to be clear that this is a pamphlet that will do less and cost Canadians more. After fighting climate action for years, Conservatives have promised to stop sending rebates back to families and instead create an incomprehensive reward system where the more you burn, the more you earn. Compare that to our net zero bill C12, which is up for debate today. It requires us to set meaningful legislative targets and was a key commitment we made to Canadians in the last election. Madam Speaker, I sincerely hope all members will allow the debate to conclude today so that we can finally vote on
the Honourable Member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Madam Speaker, a report from Environmental Defence concludes the Liberals gave at least $18 billion to the fossil fuel industry last year, despite their stated goal to move the country to a post-carbon economy. The Minister of Natural Resources has pointed out in this House that the majority of Canadians voted for serious action on climate change. So when will the Liberals listen to those Canadians and take urgent and bold action on climate change instead of throwing billions of dollars at the fossil fuel sector?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, the authors of the report the honourable member mentions are not being entirely forthright in their assessment of subsidies. They include things that the majority of Canadians wouldn't agree are subsidies. For example, investments in orphan wells, methane cleanup, which were supported by the NDP, the wage subsidy for oil and gas companies that was received by all sectors in the economy, and investments in technology to drive down emissions from Canada's oil and gas sector. Madam Speaker, Canada needs to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies, but mixing several issues, this report does not contribute to an intelligent discussion on this important subject.
The honourable member for Vancouver-Grenville.
Madam Speaker, I think I speak for the vast majority of Canadians when I say that we do not want an election during the third wave of this pandemic, particularly one clearly motivated by partisan opportunism. That said, an election unfortunately still remains a possibility, so I ask a very specific question. Can the minister please advise whether the government has any intention of seeing Bill C-19 become law, and whether the Chief Electoral Officer has indicated he is COVID prepared, and how quickly after royal assent he would be able to give notice that the temporary changes are in force?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think it's important for us to recognize that we are, in fact, in a minority parliament. No one knows what that means in terms of can happen. The Chief Electoral Officer says we need to be ready if an election happens, and the Elections Canada, which is recognized around the world as an authority on independent elections, I'm sure will ensure that Canada will be ready. With respect to C-19, we will continue to move forward in the best way we can.
This concludes oral questions for today. Tabling of documents. Introduction of government bills. Déclaration de ministres.
Statements by ministers.
Rapport de délégation.
Reports from interparliamentary delegations.
Présentation de.
Presenting reports from committees.
Member for Cambridge. The honourable member for Cambridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My apologies. I have the honor to present in both official languages the fifth report of the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs entitled Main Estimates 2021-2022, Vote 1 and 5 under Department Veterans Affairs, and Vote 1 under Veterans Affairs, Veterans Review and Appeal Board. Thank you.
The honourable member